1982 to 86, I was rushing crypto. It was the best job in the Air Force, but I got caught up in a gay witch hunt. They put me on a base with 6,000 men and 50 women that looked like tree trunks with bad hygiene. And they wondered why we had sex with each other. We all did. It was spectacular. But we got in trouble too. We got into a lot of trouble. Right? There was a gay underground in the military. And so overseas, there were gay parties with gay people. And then those of us with higher than top secret security clearances came under a lot of scrutiny. And so that scrutiny turned into arrests. I was arrested at work in my top secret enciphered speech communications block. They told me to stand up and put my hands behind my back. And then they took me down to be investigated. And they tied me to a chair for 13 hours before they came in to talk to me. And they told me that I would cooperate and tell them everybody else that was a homosexual on the base. I said, I'm not going to turn on my fellow soldiers. I said, I won't do it. And they said, you will. Everyone eventually does. I didn't. But then they outed me on the base after 3.5 months of not cooperating. So they put my life in danger at that point. My animals were murdered. I had a beautiful bird that was well trained. She sat on my shoulder. I could call her back from trees. And we'd go to barbecues together. And somebody broke into my room. And they ripped the head off my bird and wrote faggot in blood on the mirror. With the carcass of my beautiful bird, they pissed in my fish tank, killed all my fish. And somebody took a human shit on my futon. So I called the MPs. I was done. And then they made me stand out in the hallway in my dormitory in my underwear while they let a German Shepherd go through my room to investigate my complaint. And the dog took a piss on the human shit that was on my futon, and they all started laughing. It was a very despondent situation. I was interrogated repeatedly. I was arrested repeatedly because I kept refusing to cooperate. And then that's when they said, well, we'll just tell everybody why you're under investigation. And I said, that's a death sentence. And it essentially was. And so I had to cooperate. And I only cooperated by talking about one relationship because we were both already dealing with impending doom. We had trauma bonded together when we were in language school. And he went on after he got kicked out of the military for being gay and had 7 kids with his wife. So he wasn't that gay. We just trauma bonded while we were in language school. So it's something that happens. And something that happens in the military. That's quite different than in the civilian community, but you know, the VA decided to apologize to me and they gave me a pension. So now I have a pension and a PTSD service animal. I'm trying to work on homelessness in Seattle because it was something I experienced, and the other veterans that I met were so despondent, so shattered. Some of these guys were like young Iraqi veterans and stuff. They just come back to the United States and they were shattered and all alone. I went to the Wounded Warrior program and spoke to the regional director, Chad, about the needs of the homeless people in the shelters, and he asked me where the shelters were. He didn't even know where the shelters were, where the veterans were located. He gave me a bunch of business cards and said, we'll help out in any way that we can, and they never once responded to any of our emails, and they never once did anything to help any of us. So the Wounded Warrior program is a farce. You know, if we want to help homeless veterans, we have to understand that 80% of them have either a drug or an alcohol problem. 80% of them smoke cigarettes. And none of them have any money. And so there's nothing you can do when you don't have any money, you don't have any dignity, you don't have any hope. And then you're constantly being bashed by these agencies and the people that call themselves masters of social work. What the hell have they mastered? They're the most mean people I've ever met my entire life. Anywhere. They're not helpful at all. And so these veterans are running around in squalor. And it's quite a despondent situation for everyone. And then some of them are doing drugs to such an extent that they've deconstructed to where they're not even the same people that they were before. They've all gotten lost. And so, you know, I know most people don't understand that 22 veterans a day kill themselves in suicide, but that's because they're all left alone in rooms. None of them have families anymore. We all lost our families. And so, what are you supposed to do? Just sit in your room and socialize with no one and have no output whatsoever to being human. And so it's really a despondent situation for everyone. And the VA doesn't do anything to help. There's no community whatsoever. Once you're out of the service, you're pretty much on your own, and that's the reason why most of these guys aren't doing so well. Because the military turns out to be your mother and your father when you get out of high school. Your laundry's down the hallway. You don't have to put money in there. You can go to the chow hall and eat. You can go to the gym and work out. You go to work, they pick you up on a bus and take you to work. They pick you up on a bus and they drive you home from work. I mean, they put you in airplanes and tell you to go to work, and you go to work on airplanes and then you land. No, it's not a bad thing. But then when you're out of the military, you lose all of your community completely, and you don't fit into the regular civilian community at all, because you know, you were taken care of differently while you were taking care of the government and the people of the United States that you wanted to keep safe. It was a mission that we all believed in. Every one of us was willing to die for our country, and we didn't know why. We didn't know why, but we all were. We all were. Yeah, please clean up after your dog. I suppose I can pick up his shit.